your bow. Yeah. Just gonna hide that quickly. Yeah. So yesterday we looked at, I think the last thing we looked at was sets. So we'll be continuing with that, but just before we can start, I just want us to have a look at something else. So this is to help you so that when you face problems in your own time, or when you need to understand a concept more, that you can do this outside of the class. So like yesterday we looked at sets, and I said today we'll be looking at the methods within the set object. So I'm just going to create this file here that we'll be using, and then I will just go. So we'll be like exploring them as we go, right? So we know that our objects. So by now, I think you should understand what I mean by objects. So I'm including all the data types that we've spoken about, like your numbers, floats and ints, your strings, tuples, lists, sets, so, and many more that we'll still look at in the future. But yeah, that's what I mean by objects. So we know that our objects have methods on them. Like if I go numbers dot VS Code shows me the methods that are on the object that I'm looking at. In this case, we're looking at the set, right? The set, a set object. So if let's say I want to see the difference there, which is, and then when I do that, you can see that it's telling me something about the function here, but it's not telling me much, right? But let's say I just want to, I'm just playing around and I want to test things out, and I actually want to know what this difference method is. So what you can do is, so the other way, sorry. So I can just go Python, what did I say? Python, so we have difference, set difference, right? And then I can just do that. So there's the first one, I actually like using this one, geeksforgeeks.org. So it explains to you what it is that the method does, and it proceeds and shows you examples of it. So like now, just by searching this one, it tells you Python set, and then the pipe, and then it tells you this is the method that we'll be talking about, and that's the method that we actually want to know about. So difference between two sets in Python is equals to the difference between the number of elements in the two sets. The function difference returns a set that is the difference between two sets, right? So let's try to find out what, and I think I don't know if, yeah, I think you guys should be familiar with set theory, if I'm not mistaken. But if you are not, just
I'm not familiar with that.
So
you give us.
So do you remember? So like we'll see this Venn diagram over here. So you have two sets here, right? Which is like your A and your B, right? And then if you want to find the difference between your A and your B, what that is things that are in A but are not in B, right? So that's what the difference of A, the difference of A difference B. So it tells you what is in B that's not in A. Sorry, what is in A that's not in B. So that's what it gives you. So if you see here, the green part here, right, is A minus B, meaning because if you see this portion here, this portion is included in both, right? And we know that this portion is not in B because B's circle is there and it does not what do they call it, intersect with this green part, right? So you know that, okay, the difference between A and B, so because the difference between A and B is not the same as the difference between B and A, in this case. So you have this part here that's not in B, but this part is both in is in A and is also in B, right? So like we can actually test it out in our code now. So I'm going to have two sets here, right? I'll have just say I'll call this random, and then I'll just call that numbers, right? Sorry. So this one I'll just say, actually let me just use A and B. B, right? And then here I'll give this. So I'll give this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that just initialize our set. I'll give this one 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, right? And then if I say A difference B, right? And then I want to print this out. Nope, I ran the wrong one. You see, it gave me 3, 4, 5. So you see, it gave me 3, 4, 5 because in B we have 1 and 2, right? And in A we have 1 and 2, but we don't have, in B we don't have 3, 4, and 5, right? So that's why. So the difference between A and B is that. But if I was to do it the other way, so I say B difference A, what do you expect that to be?
Six, 7, 8.
Yeah. So it's yeah, but yeah, 6, 7, 8. But the order, there's no order, so that's why it gives you that, right? So yeah, so that's the method. So you search that. I just showed you you saw a method on your set or your object, and you don't know what it does. Sometimes there's proper documentation when you're looking at it in VS Code, but sometimes there isn't. Like here, we didn't see what the actual method does by just looking at the comment that pops up when I'm trying to execute the method. But if I search for it, I just search for it. I like Geek for Geeks, Geeks for Geeks, because it has it's been good to me. So but yeah, so it just shows you how to, so it explains what it is, and then it shows you examples on how to proceed using it, right? So and then it shows you a couple of examples, and then differences, and so yeah, so that's one. So you can, and then sometimes there's yeah, this one, W3 schools also is also a good resource to use. So it also yeah, returns, see, definition and the usage. The difference method returns a set that contains the difference between two sets, meaning the return set contains items that exist only in the first set and not in both sets. You see that? That's also a good resource to use. So like here, we looked. You see, there's a lot of things here that you can look at, like Python home intro, getting started, Python syntax. There's actually a lot to go through here. I think I saw casting here. Did I not? Am I wrong?
Wait, just above strings.
Just above strings there. So Python casting, we dealt with Python casting yesterday, right? So
Yeah.
So now you found something, specify a variable type, and then int constructs an integer number from an integer literal, a float literal, by rounding down the previous whole number. or a string literal, providing the string representation represents a whole number, right? Because we saw yesterday that when we tried to cast 3.5, it gave us an error, right? So we saw that we need to convert, if we wanted to convert it into an integer, we'd have to first convert it into a float, then convert it to an integer. Remember? So, because here it says providing the string represents a whole number. So if it does, if your string version does not represent a whole number, you should not use the int. You see that? So like str, same thing, constructs a string from a wide variety of data types, including strings, integer literals, and float literals, right? So there's float literals and integer literals just means the types. It's just referring to the types that you have that we have in our in the program. So yeah, so you see, like now there's things to look at. You can actually use this resource even like outside of class. Maybe in some other class we'll just you have more questions because you sorry you had a head start before the actual lesson, uh, before we have our next lesson, right? Like now, most of the things we did here, we did comments yesterday. What Python syntax, we've been doing that the whole time. Variables, we spoke about data types. So we will speak about Booleans today. Booleans and on operators normally go hand in hand. So I think also what after today's lesson, maybe just look at, I'll actually send a link. Just look at the Python operators, right? And then if you have questions, and then we'll talk about them. We'll talk about them on because today on Monday. So maybe I'll send this link in the group. So let me actually send it now. Let me send the link. Actually, I'll send it later. It's fine. So, but yeah, cool. I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually good resources.
Yeah. So W3 schools and Geeks for Geeks are the resources that I normally use. But there's other resources when you're in trouble, like you're not trying to investigate like what something does, but you don't understand why your program is throwing an error, right? Like yesterday, let's say I'm going to try and print this. Print int 3.5, 3.2, right? So if I run this method right here, it throws me an error, right? So it says value error, invalid literal for int with base 10. Let's say we didn't understand what this meant, right? So you copy the error so yeah, first let's just see, let's just try and understand what this is saying. So the first trace back most recent call last it's just saying like it's showing you where the error is coming from. Like now we can see that here it says the file where the error is happening, right? It tells you sets method. So what you can do on your computer, you can press control and then click on that. You see? So let's say let me close this file actually, right? After closing that file, if I press control on your computer and you click on that, it actually opens the file and takes you to the place where the error is. So now if I was to copy this and paste it there, right? Let's see. Let's try and run it again. You see, it tells me line 3, which is there, right? So if the command thing doesn't work, then you can just go to this file and then go to line 3, and you'll see where your error is happening, right? But with VS Code, close that. Like even if it's closed, and then you just go bam, and then it takes you there to that line that where the error is happening. But let's say now, yeah, we know where the error is happening, but we actually still don't understand why the error is happening, right? So you copy that guy, the 3 point, this guy, the 2.3 doesn't matter because this error, if this error happened for someone before, it might have happened to them with a different number, right? But the main thing that I'm looking for is this value error. Value error invalid literal for int with base 10, right? And then where do we go? Our best friend Google. You paste that there, and then you'll get answers, right? For these type of confusions, when you have these type of confusions where it is like you're trying to run your program and it's not running the way you expect it to behave, it's giving you errors and you don't understand what the errors mean, copy that error, you paste it there. Best resource for that is Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow is where people post their problems, and then other people answer. Like there's different versions of an answer. You can see that. So a lot of people answer, and the best answer is normally at the top because there's ratings on the answers, right? Some are verified. With this one is not. So yeah. So let's just read what the first answer, what the first answer says here, which is so this one here at the top is the question. So he says value error invalid literal for int with base 10, which is what we yeah, damn, this was asked 10 years ago. But which is what we had, right? Say I'm creating a program that needs a file, and if the first line of the file is not blank, it reads the next line, blah 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 blah, and then he gets that, right? Let's see what the answer is. Just for the record, int gives you that. Got me. What's he saying now? Got
Use
me here.
float. It's just it.
Yeah, has to be. So yeah, you got me here. So use float has to be used. So like we said, we already saw this yesterday, right? Like that when we're dealing with numbers, strings that represent numbers but are in decimal form, we need to use a float to avoid this error. So we already knew that, but if you didn't, I don't think if this is clear enough. But maybe let's look for another answer. You might just find Stack Overflow is normally the best one. So let's just look at yeah. Let's see this one. Yeah, there we go. This might not be okay. It's the same thing, but you see this one here. This one has a green tick, right? So this is normally the best answer. It's not always the case because maybe that solution worked for a lot of people, but it actually isn't doesn't it's actually not the whole solution to the problem. So people that it worked for might just upvote this, and then it might get the tick because a lot of people have said this is the correct answer, even though most of the time it might not be the full answer. Not most of the time. Sometimes it might not be the full answer, but most of the time it is. So yeah. So here I'm not worried about that anymore. I just wanted to show you how to navigate Stack Overflow. So yeah, we looked at three sites. We looked at Geeks for Geeks, which is a good resource when you're confused with some of the documentation in your program. You don't understand something. Geeks for Geeks is good. W3 schools is also a good resource. So yeah, like it has a lot of even if you look at the top, you have a lot of you have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SQL, and then you can just you could just start from the beginning. If sorry, my bad. Like you could basically learn Python from W3 schools from the beginning. So you just go there, home, start, and then I think it also might help you install it or something. Oh, it doesn't. I think it assumes. It looks like it assumes you already have Python installed. But yeah, so you can just start there, look at the different things. There's quizzes as well, Python quiz that you can take, right? And then just go next, and then it takes you to the intro, and then you start looking at different you start your journey going forward, right? And maybe I will I'll take some exercises from this platform, and then give to the class. But yeah, so we have Geeks for Geeks, we have W3 Schools, and we have Stack Overflow. So those are, I would say, the three. Those three will help you with 90% of your questions. So yeah, good.
Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah. So yeah. So with that being said, I think I will leave that the I will leave the discovering of new methods from now on to you guys, and understand, so that you can understand what the methods are, right? So yeah, so today will be after this now. So after, since yeah, you guys should look at the methods on set. Maybe also go back to the previous classes and explore methods on those objects that we've done before. And if you have questions, start off by trying to find answers. And then if you don't find the answers, you can just come back and ask me. Cool. Now let me just push this up. Cool. And then now to so we spoke about Booleans, right? Before, in the beginning, when we discussed all of our data types. So what do you guys remember from that?
You mean from Booleans?
Yeah.
True or false? I think
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah. So yeah, they represent two states, true or false, which is 0 and 1. And so we'll also look at other relationships between the booleans that we can use. Not now. After we do other things, but we'll learn more. So this will be, I think we'll use booleans a lot. So when you're trying to navigate through your code, you're trying to have different flows, doing things in different conditions. So let's say you wanted to do task A if something else was true, or if task B if something else was false, right? So you'll be able to now we're just going to understand the booleans and go through some boolean operators, and then yeah, in soon I think we should get to them next week. Maybe, I think so. Yeah. So we're going to start looking at working with files, working with user input, and then we're going to start also look at if statements, and some our control flow structures. So yeah, so I think and then after next week, I think that's when we'll start ramping things up and doing a bit more advanced things, because now we're just gathering the building blocks. So I think in 2 weeks time, so next week we're going to do files, we're going to do if statements, we're going to do taking input from the user and using it in your code, and then after that we'll start doing for loops, repetitions, and things like that. So things are going to get a bit
interesting.
They're going to get a bit interesting, but they'll also be interesting starting next week when you start dealing with files. So like reading files from your computer, writing files on your computer, and things like that.
Okay.
So cool. So yeah, So it's quite challenging to talk about. Let me not say it's quite difficult to talk about your booleans without talking about boolean operators. Because if now I just start talking about booleans, we have what, true or false and right. So what happens after we have our true and false? Like how is true and false useful to us, right? Because it's two options, right? Like if I was just to write true, like print true, and looking at that, you'll see our true in Python, your true, it's capital T, and your your false is your capital F, right? So I'm just going to right, like we have our true and false. What then, right? Like what do we do with this? Like how does it help us? So it actually helps us once we start doing some operations on something, right? Like let's say I have my number here, right? Number A, I'll call this 1, and number B, and I'll call this 2, right? So what would I do if I wanted to know if number B is equals to number A, right? What would I do? Anyone can just take a guess. Actually, let me start with a simple one. If I wanted to know if number B is greater than number A, what would I do here? I want to print out if number B is greater than number A. What would I do? Come on now. Yeah, Jack, so you want to say something?
No, I'm not.
So would you just use that? So number A, so it's saying number A, and then you use the greater than sign, right? And then what do you expect that to print out to the screen?
True.
You see, so it prints out true. I'm going to, so like the thing that we learned yesterday, I'm just going to comment that code out at the top. We remember that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we start seeing, okay, saying this question, this asks the question, is number A greater than is number B greater than number A? Then it says true. Now we can see, okay, the result of this operation is what? Is a Boolean, right? So meaning this is how actually we'll be interacting with Booleans most of the time. Like when we ask questions, is this greater than that? Is this equals to that? Is you get that? Those kind of questions are these two, is this not equals to that, right? So when you ask questions, you get a true or you get a false. And this question here says, is number A greater than is number B greater than number A? So the same thing. So if I was to say, is number B less than number A, right? And then that gives me a false because we know we have a 2, number B is 2, and number A is 1. So we know that 2 is not less than 1. So that gives us a false. And
How do you do unequal?
So what does yeah, no, that's a good question, but I want to ask you this. Line 5, what does that statement say? So just tell me what does the line number 5 is. Explain to me what that does. Jack. And then explain to me what line 5 is, or what does it line 5 say rather?
It just says that your number B is an integer of 2.
Cool. So Yeah. So yeah, Cree is having problems with his mic. So if you have a question, just write it in the section in the comment section on the side.
Even answers.
What?
You can even answers there.
Yeah, even answers. So what this is saying is saying assign the value to, right, to number B. That's what this statement is saying. So that means this equal sign here, this is an assignment operator. So like we have a lot of operations. So we have an assignment operator, we have our greater than operator, we have our less than operator, the two that we just looked at now. So one equal sign, this is an assignment operator, meaning you're taking one thing, you're assigning it to another, right? So you're giving something a value. So that's how that's your assignment operator. But then if you wanted to know, ask the question, is A equals to B, then you use the double equal sign. So you use double equals there. So this now is saying is number B equals to number A, right? Now if I print that out, it says false, right? But if I change this to 2 and then run it again, it tells me that that is true, right? So yeah. So now I want to ask you, actually, what will this say?
False.
Ha.
Explain.
Yeah.
Explain.
So the values are the same. So some languages don't treat them the same. So I think in JavaScript, I think JavaScript does not treat them the same. Let me. I'm not sure, but I think it doesn't. Let's see. Well, it seems like it does. So, so yeah, these two things have the same value. So, if you were to compare them as strings, it obviously wouldn't be the same, because in your string you'd have 3 characters in one, while in this one you'd have one. But these two things have the same value, so that gives you a true. Cool. So we have let's just
Wait, look.
Yebo.
Greater or equal to, then you just add equal sign and greater than or what?
So greater or equals to, so you can do that. That's the one that you use. So greater or equals to, so you do that. And then less than or equal to, you do that way. Right?
Okay, not bad.
And there's another one, not equal, right? There's another one where you just want to know if things are not equal, right? So you use the exclamation, right? See that? So use the, so this exclamation is saying not equals to. So it's saying B is not equals to A. That's what it's saying. So that's your not, you can call it your not operator. Good.
Yeah.
So and then we have other operators. So let's say we have we're gonna have some. I'm just going to change this, instead of calling them number A, I'm just gonna make them make that A, make that B. We can make C equals to 5, and then you can have your end, right? Your end So if you wanted to join you wanted to have two operations, like you say, if A is not equals to, if B is not equals to A and C is not equals to, and C is not equals to, okay, C is less than 20, right? So what should this be? What should this give you?
Oh, no, the first one is false.
Yeah.
So the second one. Ooh, does it now call it one? I'll go with false.
Why?
Because Nkosinathi also choose false.
Come on, bro.
I think because if I will assume that it will treat all those things as one code for one line and then give it one answer.
Yes.
So one of it is false, so it will take the whole thing as false.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not entirely true, like Gosnet says. It's not entirely true. So the whole thing will not be true. So for this, because you know at the end operate how the end operator works, you say if this statement is true, then and this statement is true, then the whole thing is true. But if any of them is false, then the whole thing is false, right? So actually underneath when the program actually makes the check, right? It starts with if this is false, it actually won't run this side because it doesn't need to, right? So just say, oh, I already have a false, I don't need to check anything, right? Because it's your AND operator, right?
Okay.
So and then we have, so yeah, I'll run that. And then we have a false, right? And then there's another one. You can use your OR. So OR is checks is this true? No, it's false. Okay. Is this true? Yes, it's true. Then the whole thing is true, right? So if you have one true, then the whole thing is true, right? So the difference between these two, like I said, if this is false, right? The computer will say, oh, there's no need for me to check the right side of my end, right? Because the right side of my end doesn't matter. It won't change the result of this statement, right? So then it just evaluates to false. But with this one, I'll get a false here and say, oh, this is false, but I might still get a true, right? And that's what I'm looking for. If I get a true, that means the whole thing is true. So it says, oh, this is false. Okay, then I need to check that. Then it says, oh, this is true. And then it gives me a true. But if I was to do it the other way, right? If I did this, which evaluates to the same answer. In this case, it say, oh, I already got it true, and I don't need to check the right side because if I get one true, the whole thing is true, right? So that's they are similar in that regard. Meaning for the end operator, if I find a false, there's no need for me to operate further. But then the or says if I find a true, there's no need for me to operate further. So yeah. So you have so you can chain your conditions with your and your or. You can even do more operations, right? Let's say you wanted to have this one won't change anything. So let's say you wanted to take the result of this, right? So I'm going to wrap that in brackets. Actually, let me make it a whole new line. So I'm going to wrap this guy in brackets here, and then say and b is greater than 17, right? So what this does, right? It'll evaluate the thing we have in our parentheses, and after evaluating that, it'll then proceed to the other one because we know how our end operator. If we find it true, we continue until we have exhausted everything. Because if we get a false, that affects the result. So this will say, okay, this is true. We know this is true because you're saying this or that, and then you get a true for this one, meaning the whole thing is true. And then you have true and is b greater than 17? No, it's not. So this whole thing will be false. So you can have, just be careful when you use them, and make sure that what you're trying to do is what you're intending. Like now here, we can see, even though these things might give us the same, like, what are we saying here? So you're saying this or that and that, right? So this might just actually, I'm not sure how the operations get executed. I'll have to find out. I'm not sure if it'll do that, and then the result of that make it an or. But so you see, like, there's some ambiguity in this statement. So I just need to check whether what if there's some operations have more presidents. I think that's the right word, over the other one. Yeah. So just be careful when you're chaining your operators, and yeah. So if you are intending something using brackets like this, you're making it more explicit. You're saying evaluate this in the brackets, and then after that evaluate it with that. So in that case, you're not leaving anything to chance. But I'll also find out, and then I should send a document together with the link to you guys, explaining what the actual strategy is when it comes to the operations here. So, any questions?
I think I'm fine so far.
Printare bone. Oh shit. So yeah, you can see that these two, one gave us true and the other gave us false. So you can already see that. So it's saying, yeah. So with this one, the operation is, so it did this. You see, it did that. So it said this and that. That's false. We know that this is false, right? Because B is not equals to A. Well, they are. That's true. And but B is not greater than 70. So this the right side of or is false, but the left side is true. So if we get it true, everything is true. So you see already that these two are not evaluating to the same thing, right? So if that's the intention, if you like, now we know that the AND operator was executed first before. So this part did not run because the computer chose to run that part. Why it does that? I'll have to find out. I'm sure there's a reason. And I think maybe because AND is more, it has a higher precedence than no AND rather more than the or. So you see, these two things are not the same, right? So we already know that one. So I'm conflicted. Why? Can you change the order? Fair. That's fair. So you want me to do this? Hey, I keep on doing that. That's what you want, right? I see what you're saying. Let's see. Still the same result. But either way, yeah. Yeah, so Cree. So we know, how, like, now we can see that the end is actually executed first, because I have that in the back of my mind, but I don't. I was just trying to make sure. But uh, even now, you can see that this one was ran first because this evaluates to false, right? And then you have your or that. Even what you said before, saying it might have just run the. Actually, let me do that. Let me do that first. Yeah, let's do that so that we don't print out everything. Both of them are true. It seems that all has more. No. It doesn't. In the sense that by presidents I mean like which one like you know when you do multiplication and divisions and all of that, we know that your you have your brackets, and then you have your orders, and you have your and then you know that addition happens before subtraction, and multiplication happens before addition. So that's what I mean by that. Not that the state the final result is based on because your or operator already discussed that it gives you, if something is true in there, you'll get a true. But like like looking at the one in line 9, right? Line 9 is saying this side is we have we have operated on those two, we've combined them with an or, right? And then that is true, this is true here, this is true. But since we are operating with an and there, then uh that's done after, because we're saying, okay, put this in brackets, and the brackets will take, in this case, your operations in your bracket will run first before the ones outside of your bracket, right? In this case, because you're saying you're surrounding you're separating your brackets with an and operation, and then you have something else on the other side, which this evaluates to a false, right? So that means this is essentially an and statement, right? This is essentially an and statement, right? You get that, Cree? Not saying anything, not texting back. Why you ain't text back, bro? Yeah. So, okay, the word. Yeah, I get that. Maybe that was the confusion, I guess. Cool. I think also, I think we're done. So I will send through a couple of exercises like I did last week, so that you have something to keep you busy uh, over the weekend. Or yeah, but maybe you can start looking at taking user input in Python. So I will also post that in the group on the things that need to be done. So taking input from the user, just do some research on that. We'll tackle it on Monday. And then reading and writing to files. Yeah, even if you don't start doing them, just do some research around them, so that we can move quicker on the upcoming lessons. Because I think there will be more questions as we move forward, as things get a bit more complicated. So if there's some research done before the class, then we might just have questions before class and just take them out, and then since you the research might have given you some form of understanding, so it will be much easier to go through the class.
Okay, no, it's fine. You say the reading and writing files, right?
Yeah, so taking in input from the user, that's the one that will start off the
Just type it
lesson
in
with.
the group as well, so
Yeah. I'm going to do that now. So just to close off. So taking input from the user, reading and writing to files. So that's what we'll do on Monday. We might do more things, but those are the things that I'm aiming for on Monday. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks. Enjoy
Wait.
your
Wait, bra. Lo another.
Okay, sure.
Sure. Let me just stop. Yo, the boy done